Alright, so going back over the stuff I had to go through in the Lauren Drive neighborhood, like this stuff all started really in the summer of 2012. I was doing a garden, I was minding my own business, I wasn't bothering anybody, and I had been walking around the neighborhood. I had been doing a lot of research, and I was overwhelmed, and I just wanted to get off the computer. I had been reading and studying mainly on the Manson case, and primarily like night after night after night for months. I studied the Manson case, and I was in a position to where I was overwhelmed. So I started spending more time outside walking around the cul-de-sac of Lauren Drive off Highland Old Grand Haven, and then across the street, the house that Robin Pastuca and Joseph Pastuca lived at. They had a daughter with natural red hair, and she looked just like her sister, and her sister's name was Samantha Pastuca. The reason how I know who the girl's sister is, her name's Samantha Pastuca, because there's a Calvary Bible church right there on off Hile in Old Grand Haven, like right next to where I live at. And I was there one day, and one of the workers, like one of the Norton Shore city government people, were there at the church, and it was weird because he already knew what my name was. He said hi Jamil, and he already knew what my name was, and the way he said it like he had some sort of problem with me, covertly had some sort of problem with me. And at the time, I was just like, oh, okay. He said hi to me. This wasn't in 2012. This was like in 2013. And then he said something about the woman across the street from me. He was saying something about the woman Robin, her daughter Samantha is sick. She has an illness, and like, he was talking about how she had a rare illness and she was sick, and like, he was and he was worried about her and stuff. So I'm just sitting here. This was in 2013. So that's how I knew who Samantha Pastuca's name was. And that's how I knew who the woman Robin was, because the guy at the church told me. But so anyhow, so going back to what I was saying, back in the summer of 2012, I was walking around the cul-de-sac, and a younger woman who had been driving by my house and looking at me. The woman was younger. She had natural red hair, blue eyes, and she had been driving back and forth looking at me like with her father in the car, Joe Pastuca, and I never really paid it any attention, and she was smiling and she seemed to have some sort of interest in me. So I remember one day I was out walking around the cul-de-sac on Lauren Drive, and right where they actually live at, the Pastuca family lives at, the younger woman, she came outside and she introduced herself to me, and I forget what she said her name was. I think she said her name was like Jamie. It was like either Jamie Pastuca or Beth or Jamie. I didn't remember what the girl's name was, but she said she came out and we shook hands and she told me her name, and I just told her she had pretty eyes. And so and then the next day I talked to her again. She said she was going to get her hair done, and down the street there's this place where women go and get their hair done all the time. And so and then so she was telling me she was going to show me her hair after she got it done. This was the next day after I met her, and then when she was coming back, I wasn't outside or something. And so then there was another woman who lived on the other side of the cul-de-sac, and one day I was over there and the girl showed up and she had some little guy friend with her, and I talked to her for a second, and then another time after that I talked to her a second. So I was aware of who she was and she was aware of who I was. We had spoken a few different times. Okay, and this was all in the Lauren Drive neighborhood. So there's people who know that there's neighbors in the neighborhood who that know that I know the girl and know that we've communicated. Okay, so a lot of my neighbors know who this woman is, and they know that the woman in the police report, Amanda Cherry, they know that's not the girl that I sent the flowers to. They know that's not the girl that was living inside the house. They know that this is a joke and it's fake. Okay, so so anyhow so anyhow so anyhow So anyhow, going back, so this was in the summer of 2012, and so I was 26 years old at the time, and the girl was 17 at the time. And then one of my neighbors told me that she had been molested by a teacher. Like, this is one of my neighbors. My neighbor, her name was Diane, I think. She had blonde hair, and she lived next door to another neighbor named Linda. And I had been going over her house, hanging out. And she told me that the girl that I met, the girl that I was talking to, she told me that the girl had been previously raped by a Norton Shores teacher, and that the teacher had also taken advantage of one of the girl's friends sexually. And so after that, I was just kind of like, damn, like, I'm 26 years old, you know what I'm saying? She's 17. I'm just kind of like thinking, like, damn, this might be one of those people who try to turn around and say you tried to rape. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of fucked me up. It freaked me out a little bit. And so after that, I just kind of stayed my distance. I didn't want anything to do with those people. And then after I met the girl, the mother had waved at me a few times, and I had spoken to the mother briefly, Rob Mastuka, on a few occasions. And so, but I introduced myself as JR, not Jamil Rawls. So these people all knew who I was. Like, I even said something to the father one time, and like one day I was outside or something. This is way back before. So all these people knew who I was. The girl's brother, Joshua Pastuka, I spoke to him as well. And in the summer of 2016, he was waving at me and all this stuff. There was no indication that there was anything wrong. So these were just people across the street from me, though, right? And I noticed that this woman had something going on with all her other neighbors. She seemed to be like, she seemed to me to be the type of person to try to get herself into other people's business. Like, come into your life, want to know who you are, who's all around you, want to know everything about you. And now that all this stuff has happened, now it all makes sense. So in the summer of 2015, so fast forward, like, nothing ever happens with me and the girl. We just talked a few times. So in the summer of 2013, and at the time, this is the strange part. In the summer of 2012, I had already, I was already doing research. I had already did all my research with all these other researchers and stuff. Not with Jordan Maxwell yet, but are with BG Knockout or Laura Eisenhower and stuff. This didn't come till afterwards, but I had already been researching and communicating with other people in the research field. So in the summer of 2013 and 14, I was still a researcher, still researching. I'm mixed. I'm black and white, and I mainly hang out with black people and Hispanic people and sometimes Asian people. But I have white friends, but I don't go to white neighborhoods and hang out with people. I primarily, in the Muskegon area, I primarily went to an area in Muskegon Heights, 7th Street, known as the West Side, over by 7th and Hackley, and I would hang out with people there. And so none of the people in the neighborhood actually know me, to be honest with you. That's the funny thing. I was like all these other people who live in the Lauren Drive neighborhood. I've been there longer than most of these people. I think I've been there longer than the Pastuca people. I think I was there first, to be honest with you. All these other houses in the neighborhood, none of these people have been there longer than me. So I don't know any of these people. But these people, for some reason, felt they had the right to follow me around and lie on me and all this stuff. So anyhow, in the summer of 2015, I started being followed around and gang stalked and harassed. Before this happened, I was in an altercation, a situation where some people tried to set me up and kill me. Looking back at it now, I'm under the impression that it was the people living in Muskegon in this neighborhood, or people, maybe not necessarily the people in the neighborhood, but there's some kind of connection in the Muskegon area with these people that have been following me around. And there's been a lot of different people following me around. There's some sort of connection between people when there was an attempt on my life, and these people where I live at. So anyhow, in the summer of 2015, I ended up getting followed around and gang stalked, and I didn't even know what was going on. I just started getting racist threats like "fuck you," you nigger, and all this stuff, and prank phone calls. and I started seeing cars parked on the corner, and I'm thinking, like, am I tripping out? Like, what the fuck's going on? But the whole time, this Robin and Joe Pastuca, they're running the whole neighborhood watch group. They're telling all my neighbors, like, to cut their lights on and off at certain times. Other people are coming into the neighborhood who are participating in it. And these people were actually mimicking, like, they were mimicking Jordan Maxwell. They were mimicking, they were trying to freak me out and scare me. And it was going on for a while. I didn't know who these people were. I thought there was people in the neighborhood trying to kill me because it was people I didn't know they did this purpose. Like, this was set up, intimidation, purposely created to make me think somebody was trying to kill me, and these people in the neighborhood were behind it. Okay? So fast forward, I find out what's going on, and I find out that I'm being gang stalked, and so I get off the internet for a few months. I'm trying to calm down and be cool and everything. And then the main girl who I met back in 2012, she was following me around a little bit. And so, like, I had made some YouTube videos talking about how I was getting racist threats and people were following me. And so I interpreted, like, I came outside and I started going around, and the girl seemed like she had some sort of problem or something. So I sent the girl some flowers, and then it turned into a thing to where the girl kept following me and following and following me. But at the time, I didn't know the mother was a Freemason, and I didn't know she was running the neighborhood watch group. So I was at a disadvantage. I didn't understand how all this stuff worked or what was going on. Like, I was the victim trying to figure out what was happening. These people had the advantage. They were harassing me. So I figure out what's going on. Who the girl, I figure out it's the girl, she's following me around every day. And so they created a scenario to where everywhere I went, this girl would follow me every single where. And there was 3 daughters in the house. There was the youngest daughter name was Kayla Pastuca. She had natural blonde hair. The next daughter was Samantha Pastuca. She had natural red hair. Then it was her sister with natural red hair that I sent the flowers to. And she could be a twin of Samantha Pastuca, but I think she's the older daughter. She looks a little bit older than her. Okay, so the girl in the police report in Manacheri, she never lived at the house. Her address was like way over in Roosevelt Park. I never seen her in my life until the trial. And she's not even the type of girl I'd be attracted to. Like I seen her at the court trial, like I wouldn't be attracted to her. So I'm sitting there getting followed around everywhere by this girl I sent the flowers to, and it was like 6-7 times a day. And this was all set up, and the police knew what was going on. The police were involved in it. And so this was all set up. And so it was like the gang stalking, like a Freemasonic police thing and everything like that. And at the time, I didn't know anything about Jeffrey. Like, at the time, like, this is before Jeffrey Willis was arrested. I didn't know about the Jessica Harrington case. Had I known more about the Jessica Harrington case, I would have been kind of freaked out. I would have been a little bit more freaked out by all this, right? So, cause that was right around the corner at the ExxonMobil gas station. So this girl, she's following me every single where, and she was driving a green Ford Taurus or a green Chevrolet at the time, back in 2015, and then she was driving a bunch of different cars, and it looked like people were putting pressure on her to do it. I wasn't communicating with her, but everywhere I went, she was following me and off and on. And I didn't know at the time they were using phone apps to do it. I didn't know how sophisticated this stuff was. I couldn't comprehend. I didn't know what I know now. So I couldn't get up and walk out of my house at 3 a.m. without all these people's daughters following me all the way to Grand Haven, after my arrest, all the way to Grand Rapids, everywhere. So this person, their daughter, like, it was a combination of their daughter following me around and the Manacheri girl lying on the stand. That's how I got set up. It was their other daughter following me around everywhere, and the Manacheri girl lying in the court. And then the mother and father just sat there and pretended like they didn't understand what happened and that I was like crazy or something. But they were directing all this within the neighborhood, right? So anyhow, so the girl was following me around every single day. I had sent the flowers, and the cops came over. They said, the girl doesn't live there anymore. You can stop sending flowers. And so, it's so funny that they would say that because the Manacheri girl never lived there. So they knew who I was talking about, but the girl still lived there. She still lived there. She kept following me around everywhere. And I was at the point to where like I was just done with it. I wasn't saying anything about it. I was like, fuck it. And so the more I got comfortable with myself, and I came back on YouTube, it's like the girl just seemed like she has the girl had some sort of crush or something. Like it was stupid, but she had some sort of crush or something. And so she kept following me with other guys in the car. And then it was something where they wanted her to look at me in the eye with another guy in the car, and she would never do it. And they kept trying to make it happen like every single day. It was a form of harassment, like intimidation, bullying. Like all this stuff was illegal. And the father kept trying to force, the parents kept trying to get her to do it, and she wouldn't drive by me and look at me in the eye with another guy in the car. And this was going on in the neighborhood every single day. Like, I couldn't go anywhere. Like, I was being stalked and harassed by the whole family. And I was being stalked and harassed by the whole family, and I couldn't go anywhere. Like my whole life was destroyed by these people across the street from me, because everywhere I went, their family would be involved in this harassment. So, and all the other neighbors, the naval recruiter, the police officer, the corrections officer, they're all involved. They were all involved, and to this day, they're in the neighborhood. It's still going on, right? And so, not like it was back then, but it's still happening. So anyhow, I had a point where I had a soft heart for the girl. So I went on YouTube and I was making YouTube videos about how I felt, and I like told the girl like I loved her and stuff. But people have to put in retrospect, this is a person who was following me around everywhere I went. And at the time, I didn't know what gang stalking was. I didn't really know, like, I didn't understand it like I know. I didn't understand it like I understand now. Looking back at it now, what the fuck gave these people the authority to follow me around? And who allowed these people to get away with this? What purpose did it serve? Who did this benefit? And so that's the big thing. And then people don't get what happened. They see, I went to a trial, I was set up, I was framed, and then the obsoletist guy sits on the internet, like, talking about I'm crazy and stuff. People don't get, I was harassed by a Freemason that lived across the street from me, and they lied and made up a bunch of stories and played some sort of big game in this neighborhood and got away with it. And now my name's in the newspaper, and then the newspaper doesn't make sense. In the newspaper, it's a younger female daughter. I was never in their yard, but they're saying I was in the people's yard. I sent the flowers through a floral company, which the father answered the door and accepted the flowers, and it was for the oldest daughter living in the house, which would have been the girl I sent the flowers to. So, the whole thing was crazy. Then, when I went on that 37-mile walk, which I got into an argument with my mother, I left the house, I had some money coming, I was going to walk to the next town and get a hotel or something. And so these people, the Joe Pastuca guy and the neighbor living next to me at 4662 Lauren Drive, these people followed me all the way to Hudsonville, and it was off and on. They had the whole family. Everywhere I went, these people across the street were involved with the stalking in Muskegon County. They had their youngest daughter, Kayla, doing it. They had the Joshua Pastuca, the girl I sent the flowers to, Joe, and the neighbor next to me. You know what I'm saying? And so these people didn't have the right to harass me, the right to stalk me. And for people who say, like, that sounds hard to believe, I mean, look at it realistically. Why in the police report are they saying it's a 29-year-old daughter, but in the newspaper they're saying it's a younger female? Why is the prosecutor that was in the courtroom, Benjamin Medema, why is he not in the newspaper? The newspaper is Timothy Matt. Like, why are there so many, like, that's just not even scratching the surface. Like, why are there so many parts of the story that just don't make sense? Because these are holes in the story to cover up for the truth. This is supposed, like, these people committed a crime in this neighborhood and stalked and harassed me every single day, and were allowed to go in the United States of America, and were allowed to walk into the 60th District Court and Judge Castrava's court and sit there in the courtroom and lie about everything. And then I go to jail for a year, get out of jail, the day I got out of jail, these people were still doing this to me. The fucking day I got out of jail. These people were still following me around, and these people watch my mother's house. After all of this criminal activity, after these people were harassing and stalking me, these people are allowed to watch my mother's house. How do I know these people didn't murder Jessica Herringa? How do I know these people aren't involved with human trafficking and stuff like that? These people, the NAACP and the ACLU, the Nation of Islam, are going to be doing an investigation on this. And whether or not the law does anything about it, everybody's going to know what happened.